Hey, greetings. Michael Didier here. Thank you for joining me today. You know, if you're a regular listener to our class on YouTube, I'd really like to know who you are. I know who a couple of you are, but I'd like to know you. I'd like to get to know you. Maybe you could send me a message or even give me a call. I'm going to put my email address above this, and I'm going to put my telephone number above this. You can stop the video, write it down, and you'll have my contact information. I'd love to meet you. I'm always interested in knowing people who want to know Yehovah's word better. And I want to get to know you. All right, last week we covered Deuteronomy 21 and Deuteronomy 22 through verse 5. That's it. We talked a lot about women issues, and we'll talk about that briefly as we go through this review. We started last week by talking about if a man is found slain in thy land. Remember, blood, blood, blood. Yehovah feels strongly about blood. Not only people blood, but animal blood as well. He wants to have our slaughters done appropriately. The blood needs to go into the ground. It appears to me the meat that we eat is got to be meat that we slaughter. Boy, you know what? That's a tough one for people to understand. But when you look at Yehovah's word, it's there. The men do the slaughtering, or perhaps a servant of the man would do the slaughterings for the family. Remember, he's his representative. We're going to be Yehovah's representative in a way, but we're the leader of our gates. The buck stops with us. We're going to talk about that today, and we talked about it last week too, but I want to reinforce that idea that our servants are basically an extension of us. Our family is an extension of us. The buck stops with us, and blood in our land, thy land, is a serious matter that has to be taken care of. Why? He says it right here. Lest innocent blood be shed in the midst of thy land, which Yehovah thy Elohim is giving thee as an inheritance, and thus all the blood be on us. We don't want that blood to be on us. That's a serious thing. And we talked about the remedy for that when we don't know who it was that did it. The next thing we talked about when we go out to war, we see it says a beautiful woman. It says a woman of outward beauty, or I forget, let's take a look and see what it said. I know I put it down here. A woman of beautiful appearance. It's a beautiful woman, but you know, let's read it how they have it. I think that's good. A woman of beautiful appearance. We desire her. We want to take her as our woman. It doesn't say as a nama or as a concubine. It appears to me that she's going to be our woman. You know, that's an honor. We look at it in this day and age as a bad thing. What? He's going to take this woman to be this beautiful woman of outward appearance, beautiful appearance, woman of beautiful appearance, as his woman. This woman is from the nations. She has no relationship with Yehovah at all. Yet, she's going to become his woman. And as a man of Elohim, a son of Elohim, she'll become a daughter of Elohim. But it's interesting, the things that we have her do in order to become our woman. You know, we read these things, but we don't really understand what's going on. It says, well, let's go to the end. Because when we are all done with this process that we're going to talk about briefly, it says, and it shall be if you have no delight in her, then thou shalt set her free. Thou certainly shalt not sell her for money. Thou shalt not treat her brutally, because thou hast humbled her. You know, we link this humbling as the actual sex act. I think we got to think bigger than that, because this month-long experience where we bring this woman into our house, we have her cut her hair. She's got to cut her own hair. She's got to humble herself and cut her own hair. She's going to cut her own nails. It says she's going to take off the clothes of her captivity. What does that mean? It doesn't say anything about putting on clothes. Does she put on clothes? I don't know. Does she stay in the house naked for a month to have a sign of her desperate need for a covering? We already know that's what we're talking about with the shedding of the hair, that she has no covering. Her mother and father are gone. She's going to mourn her mother and father, that's what it's saying, for a full month. It was after the full month that we go into her. What if we have a woman who for the whole month doesn't want to cut her hair, is going to moan and complain the whole time? What if we decide after 30 days, we don't want this woman in our life, and send her back to the slave line to be divvied up among the other things, or just make her our slave, our ama? Not going to be intimate with her anymore. She's lost the opportunity. But let's say that she does take the opportunity, and we decide, yeah, this would be a good woman, I'm going to take her. It says go in and Baal her. Baal her, that's such a funny thing. Be her master. Then it says, if you find no delight in her, then you set her out free. Well, we think free's good. But what's going to happen to this woman? Her hair's very short. That's going to be an indication to lots of people what's going on. Do you think she's just going to go out and start a business? Maybe she'll leave that country and go back to her own country. That would be a possibility. Well, the very next thing it talks about is if a man has two wives. Again, women issue type of things. Two wives. We can't even comprehend it in this day and age. The things that we hear on books, on radio, on TV, program us to understand that multiple women in our lives is inappropriate. Is that what Yehovah says? Apparently not. Here's two women who bear sons, and the one of the unloved woman is the firstborn son. Yehovah is telling us we're going to still give the firstborn son the preference, even though the son of the loved woman might be our favorite. Two wives. We'll talk about that even some more today. The next thing we talked about was a stubborn and rebellious son. This was an interesting topic. It seems to me we're talking about an older son, because we're talking about a son. This son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is, it says, uncontrollable and a drunkard. You know, a man who's not controllable has no business being among Israel's seed. We need men who demonstrate self-control. Those are the men that we're looking for. Mature men. Yeah, lots of times, especially in these days, the first time Yehovah brought back Israel, most of these people were there because of blood. Did they really have circumcised hearts? Apparently not. Even after 40 years in the wilderness, they were still going after Baal Peor, still eating meat sacrificed to idols, still taking foreign women, to the point that Yehovah killed 20,000 of us just before we crossed the Jordan. So we had a lot of men who weren't circumcised in their hearts. But you know what? I think the second time that Yehovah is raising up Israel, we're going to get a different batch of men. Men more like David, who have a heart for Yehovah, who have given up things in order to be his man. They don't do the things that the rest of the world can do. They don't have the things that the rest of the world has. They can't go the same places that the rest of the world goes. And they certainly don't eat the same food that the rest of the world eats. This kid, young man, was uncontrollable and a drunkard. They stoned him with stones, but they didn't stop there. Once they stoned him with stones, the very next verse is kind of a sub of this verse. It says, the man who has committed a sin deserving of death, which this man did, shall be hung in a tree. We're going to hang him up as a witness to Israel that this kind of behavior is not going to be tolerated. What great nation has such statutes and such judgments as this great nation? What great nation can call upon Yehovah for whatever they desire and be heard of him? Wow. This is the witness that we are going to give to the rest of the nations. When is Yehovah going to raise up Israel a second time? Boy, I'm looking forward to that. This world is going to pot. Wickedness is prevailing everywhere. And I would think it's actually better in the United States than it is in many parts of the world. And it's horrible here. Well, the last few things we talked about was, thou shalt not see thy brother's ox, his member of a flock. Remember I said it was a sheep or a goat, go astray, and hide thyself from them. Now, he's saying it to the Ezra men, the ones who own the land. But when their servant or even their amah sees an ox that doesn't belong to their master, they've got to be trained to such an extent that, especially the servant, probably not the maidservant, that the servant actually brings it back to the master, or at least reports it to the master so that he can bring it, have him sent it back to the owner. If they don't know who the owner is, remember, it's not the master necessarily that's wandering around the property. It may be the servant who's going to be the first one to see the ox, the first one who's going to find an ox that's fallen into a hole, a sheep that's fallen into a hole, a donkey, it says, that's fallen into a hole. What they see, he sees. We've, Israel's seed, have got to train our family and our servants and the ger who dwell with us, Yehovah's ways, so that the sin does not come back on us. The sin towards Yehovah is not going to come towards the servant who saw it and didn't report it, who saw it and let it go. It's going to be on us. Now, I'm not going to be happy with that servant who let it go. He's got to be trained better than that. We're going to have a meeting about that tomorrow. Everybody's going to learn that that's something that's not going to be accepted. The last thing we talked about last week was this. A woman shall not wear anything that pertains to a man, nor shall a man wear a woman's garment. For all who do so are an abomination to Yehovah, thy Elohim. What's he saying? I think it's about keeping the roles of a man and the roles of a woman separate. They each have a different created purpose from Yehovah. Is one more important than the other? I don't think so. But they each have a created purpose. Is one subservient to the other? Yes. Yes, it is. I know we don't like to hear that. But Yehovah operates his families in a different way. Women do not do the jobs of a man. We saw last week. We'll see it probably this week again at times. A woman's not going to go to war. Men go to war. You'll see why today, if we get that far. I hope we do. It's about contaminating the camp. Yehovah's going to dwell with us in the camp when we go to war. But if we have a woman there, see, that's a woman doing the role of a man, wearing the clothes of a man, carrying the weapons of a man. Ought not to be. Women don't kill anybody. Women don't even kill the animals. We have different created purposes, and Yehovah wants to keep these separated. It starts by not having a man wear a woman's clothes or a woman wearing a man's clothes. It digresses here to a woman performing a man's role, to women leading men, to sex changes. A sex change, that's about as deviant as you can get. From a man wearing a woman's clothes and a woman wearing a man's clothes. Hello? It shows you how far the society has fallen. But remember, when we're talking about a man wearing women's clothes and women wearing men's clothes, that's cultural. It's cultural. What's okay for a woman to wear in Australia, the outback of Australia, and what is acceptable for a woman to wear in the United States are two different things, aren't they? So they're going to be cultural, but it's about the man. Remember, the sin falls on the man. Okay, let's begin here today on verse 6. If a bird's nest happens to be before you, thee, along the way, in any tree or on the ground with young ones or eggs, with the mother sitting on the young or the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young. Don't take both generations. You know, we learned, we had I think it was a pigeon that we had in our tree this year, that when they have a nest of bad eggs, or they have to abandon their eggs, they have 2 or 3 more times that they can lay eggs in the season. I was really surprised to see that or hear that. So that makes sense that Yehovah would say this. You shall surely let the mother go and take the youngs for thyself, the eggs or the young ones for thyself, and that it may be well with thee, and that thou may prolong thy days. You know, every morning when I go for a walk, I go past a lake where I know the ducks are and hope that I'm going to find some duck eggs. This is exactly what we're talking about. Well, they're not sitting on the nest right now, but if you found a nest that had eggs in it, we can take the eggs. The duck will lay more eggs. The bird will lay more eggs. But leave the mother alone. He goes on. When thou builds a new house, then thou shalt make a parapet for thy roof, that thou may not bring all the blood on your household. Here it is, the damim. I want to say bloodim all the time. It's something in my brain wants to say bloodim. I'm going to take blood and make it plural. All the blood. All the amim. We don't want to have the amim falling on us. And keeping people protected is the reason we put banisters on our porches. Parapets. Decks. We want to do the things that are required to keep people safe. We got a bad dog? We're going to build a fence. Keep the dog in the fence. We talked about that in the past too, haven't we? Talking about a bull that tends to thrust. And we know it tends to thrust, and he's thrusted in the past, and now he's thrusted again and killed somebody. It's the master of the house that's going to perish. He's going to die with the bull, because he didn't keep his bull from doing that again. Probably should have slaughtered the bull. Again, we're talking about the buck stopping with somebody. Here's blood that's been shed. Somebody's got to pay for that blood. This is how it's paid for. The master's going to die. He didn't control the bull. It's one thing if he does it to begin with, first time. But 2 times? No, it's not going to work. Verse 9, Thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with different kinds of seeds, lest the yield of the seed which thou hast sown and the fruit of thy vineyard be defiled. Remember, every seed produces after its own kind. We want to keep those kinds apart. Honey, I was just thinking about our eggplants. We have 2 different kinds of eggplants in our garden. I don't see a problem with having the asparagus with the eggplants, but when we have 2 different kinds of eggplants, maybe that's exactly what Yehovah is talking about. He doesn't want us to do that because we don't want that cross-pollination to take place. Maybe what's going on. He goes on talking about sowing different kinds of seed. Now he's going to move plowing. Verse 10, thou shalt not plow with an ox and with a donkey together. But this is unequally yoked situation. When we talk about unequally yoked, they are unequally yoked together. Literally unequally yoked together. Different heights, different strengths. Just doesn't work well at all. He says, you shall not wear a garment of different sorts. Now he's going to give us an example. Wool and linen mixed together. They put such as. I think he's telling us wool and linen. It looks to me like we're talking about animal hair, animal products mixed with plant products. Yehovah does not want us to do that. Pure fabric, whether it's all man-made, I suppose that's okay. He's talking about plants and animals here. Wool. How about, could we mix alpaca with cotton? No, that would not be appropriate, I don't think. We're talking about animals mixed with plant fibers. Next he says, thou shalt make tassels on the 4 corners of the clothing with which thou cover thyself. Tassels. Again, who is he talking to? We're talking in a sense about dress code in this paragraph when we were talking about a man shall not wear anything that pertains to a woman and a woman not wearing anything that pertains to a man. Here's one place, and it's the only place I can think of in the Torah other than what the priests wear when they go into the temple. But as far as what Israel's seed themselves are required to wear, this is the only thing I see. And it is the tassels. He's not telling us to put it on our women, not telling our sons to wear it. He's telling Israel's seed to wear it. He's not telling the Ger to wear it. Look what it says. This is Numbers 15, 37 through 41. Again, Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Israel's seed, his Ezra men. Tell them to make tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and put a blue thread in the tassel, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of Yehovah to do them. And, this is what we always forget, we wear them to remember to do all the commandments that Yehovah told us to do, and that you may not follow the harlotry to which your own heart and your own eyes are inclined. In other words, don't follow the commandments of the Elohim who are all around you. This is what it's about. It's about making Yehovah our only other help. What's the first commandment? Thou shalt have no other Elohim existing before my face. And that you may not follow the harlotry which your own heart and your own eyes are inclined. This is why we're wearing the tassels. We are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a spiritual nation. This is the sign that we follow only Yehovah. and that you may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy to your Elohim. I am Yehovah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim, your lawmaker and judge. That's what we're talking about. I am Yehovah, your Elohim. Israel. Remember, we're talking to Israel's seed right here. This is just a reiteration. Thou shalt make tassels on the four corners of the clothing with which thou covers thyself. If any man takes a woman and goes in to her and detests her. Here's a man taking a new woman into his life. This appears to be a woman who's being given to him by her father. It says, and charges her with shameful conduct and brings a bad name on her. This woman's not a virgin. I thought you were giving me a virgin. You know, we take this gift too lackadaisically. We don't consider it important in this day and age. But this is obviously important to Yehovah. She's going from her father to her new man. He takes a woman and goes into her and detests her and charges her with shameful conduct and brings a bad name on her and says, I took this woman and when I came to her, I found that she was not a virgin. Oh no! Can you imagine if this is the father that's hearing this for the first time? Did I not keep my daughter safe? How could this happen? Then the father and the mother of the young woman shall take and bring out the evidence of the young woman's virginity to the elders of the city and the gates. They're going to go into the house. Yes, she was a virgin, and here's the proof. And the young woman's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this. Here, I gave my daughter. Let me check this now first. This is a man. If any man, it doesn't say any man, it says if a man, not any man, if a man takes a woman. This is not a woman who takes a man. Women don't take men. They are given to them or taken by them. Yeah, it's a man that takes a woman. I know, unpopular opinion, isn't it? And the young woman's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter as a woman to this man. As a woman to this man. And he detests her. Now he has charged her with shameful conduct, saying, I found your daughter was not a virgin. This is what it's about. Here. A batula. Batulim. Same word. It's apparently a Betulim, a virgin. Interesting that they would make it from Betula to Betulim. It's like, how do you even say that? I'm not even sure how to say that. It's like Elohim. Remember, there can be one Elohim or an Elohim of grandeur, Yehovah. The qualitative plural and the quantitative plural. Is this the qualitative virgin? She wasn't a virgin. I'm not even sure how to interpret that. That was right here. And yet, it says these are the evidence. My daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. And the elders of the city shall take that man and punish him. Here's the man now being punished. Gee, why would you say something if it wasn't true? You're just going to bring disaster on yourself. Then they shall fine him 100 shekels of silver, give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought a bad name on a virgin of Israel. Brought a bad name on the virgin of Israel, brought a bad name on the man who had the virgin of Israel. A Betula of Israel. Literally, a virgin of Israel. And thus, upon him, that is why the man gets the money. Her father's the one that's going to get the money, not her. And they shall fine him 100 shekels of silver and give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought a bad name on a Betula of Israel. And she shall be his woman. She's going to stay that man's woman, and he cannot divorce her all his days. So now he's stuck with her regardless, because he's brought a bad name on her. But if the thing is true, and the evidence of the virginity are not found for the young woman, how do you protect your daughters? How do you keep your daughters safe? I've got some ideas. I'm not sure it's appropriate to share here. Let's just say, what if we had a woman in our household that did regular checks, dare I say, to make sure that our women are kept safe? A daughter who knows she's going to get checked every month or bi-yearly is going to be less likely to wander off. Really, we got to keep our daughters safe. You know, we live in a world where we let our daughters just go anywhere. They're going off to school, they're going to the stores, they're going everywhere. Is that the way that we want to run our lives? We make that acceptable. Probably part of the reason why we have such a high rate of young pregnancies in our world. We're not caring for our daughters. The women of our household could be servants. Then they shall bring the woman to the door of her father's house. Remember, this is a woman who all of a sudden is not a virgin. There is no proof. Then they shall bring the young woman to the door of her father's house. And the men of the city, and we're talking again men, it's not going to be ladies. The men of the city's men, shall stone her to death with stones, because she has done a disgraceful thing in Israel, to play the harlot in her father's house. Didn't wait for her father to give her to somebody. She played the harlot. So thou shalt put away the evil from among thee. Here's another one that's been stoned with stones. Is this woman then going to be hung in a tree as an example to the rest of the community? The young ladies in the community? Don't do this. What great nation is this that has such statutes and righteous judgments as this nation? You know, this kind of behavior, when it's treated this way, is not going to be common behavior like it is right now, is it? It's going to be an example. 22 says, if a man is found lying with a woman married to a husband, mastered by a master. Isn't that interesting? They put married to a husband. It's mastered by a master. Using Baal as a verb and as a noun. Mastered to a master. Then both of them shall die. The man that lay with the woman and the woman. So you shall put away the evil from Israel. This is adultery. A man lying with another man's woman. That's adultery. A man lying with a single woman is not adultery. Not always good, but not adultery. Here, I've got a couple things here. The man who commits, this is Leviticus 20, oh my goodness, it's moving by itself. The man who commits adultery with another man's woman, he who commits adultery with his neighbor's woman, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. That's adultery. Here's Numbers 5. Oh, this is the woman who the man suspected her of committing adultery and brought her to the to the priest, to the tabernacle. This is the only time a woman goes into the tabernacle. She's going to eat the bitter water. Her husband thinks that she's been with another man. So this is what's going to happen with that. And may this water this water that causes the curse go into her stomach and make her belly swell and her thigh rot. Then the woman shall say, Amen, so be it. Some woman might say, No, I don't want to drink that. Then the priest shall write these curses in a book. He shall scrape them off into the bitter water, and he shall make the woman drink the bitter water that brings a curse. And the water that brings a curse shall enter her to become bitter. Then the priest shall take the grain offering of jealousy from the woman's hand, shall wave the offering before Yehovah and bring it to the altar. And the priest shall take a handful of the offering as a memorial portion, burn it on the altar, and afterwards make the woman drink the water. When he has made her drink the water, then it shall be, if she has defiled herself and behaved unfaithfully towards her husband, that the water that brings the curse will enter into her and become bitter, and her belly will swell and her thigh will rot, and the woman shall become a curse among her people. Wow. Of course, if the woman is not guilty, then this woman's gotten to see the inside of the tabernacle, something that most women will never see. Not sure that's the greatest reasons to be able to get in there. You put doubt into your husband's mind, that's a shame. But you've been vindicated. Well, let's keep moving. That's the first one, 22. A man found lying with a woman who is mastered by a master. It says married by a husband. If a young woman who is a virgin, betrothed to a man. Let's see if it says man. Betrothed to a man. There it is, to a man. A young woman, the word they use for the young woman is nara. The nara. If the nara, who is a virgin, is betrothed to a man, and the man finds her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out of the gate of the city, and you shall stone them to death with stones. The young woman, because she did not cry out in the city, and the man, because he humbled his neighbor's woman. See, being betrothed is the same as being married. He is taking another man's woman. In a sense, that's adultery. But it's not quite adultery. It's what are they treating it as? They're still stoning him with stones. What is it saying? The young woman because she did not cry out, and the man because he humbled his neighbor's woman. His neighbor's woman. So you shall put away the evil from among you. Here's another situation. This one says, if a man finds a betrothed young woman in the countryside. So first he found her in the city, then he found her in the countryside. It's going to be treated differently. What is she doing in the countryside? I don't know what she's doing alone in the countryside. If a man finds a betrothed young woman in the countryside, and man forces her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. But thou shalt do nothing to the young woman. There is no young woman. There is in the young woman no sin deserving of death. For just as when a man rises against his neighbor and kills him, even so is this matter. Rises against his neighbor and kills him. So is this man in this matter. Remember, rises against his neighbor. We're talking about the Rashak, in a sense. The killing of this woman as if he's killing the man. Rising against his neighbor. That's pretty vivid, isn't it? Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. He killed me, or he raped me. He took me. It's the same as if what did he say? How'd they write it there? Then only the man shall die, but you shall do nothing wrong. For just as when a man rises against his neighbor and kills him, even so is this matter. He didn't kill anybody, but he made it so this woman perhaps is not going to be his betrothed anymore. Could that be what's going on? We need more light on something like that, don't we? How does Yehovah feel about that? We had somebody who was betrothed, but she was raped. There's a lot of gray areas in the Torah, isn't there? When Yehovah brings back Zion, his watchmen will all see eye to eye. Till then, so much is gray, isn't it? We just need better understandings. So I think some of those understandings come in time, but they're slow. I'm trying to put people on the fast track. What's taken me years to understand, to now demonstrate to you what it says in Torah, so that you can get some of those deeper understandings much more quickly than I was able to do. Where were we? What happens when a man rises against his neighbor and kills him? He gets killed also. Pretty serious offense. This likens the taking of a betrothed woman to the death of a man. Is the woman now dead to her betrothed? I guess that's exactly the question that I was asking. Maybe this is phrased a little bit better. Is she now dead to her betrothed? It may be that he can't take her anymore. She is he. What does 24:4 say? Then her former husband who divorced her must not take her back to be his woman, because she has been defiled. For that is an abomination before Yehovah, and you shall not bring sin on the land, which Yehovah your Elohim is giving you, thou as an inheritance. Yeah, it may very likely be that she's not going to be his betrothed any longer. Got to protect ourselves. Got to protect our women. Got to keep them safe. For he found her in the countryside, and the betrothed young woman cried out, but there was no one to save her. If a man finds a young woman who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, here's a virgin who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out. Yeah, here's my question. Maybe this is what stimulated my question about protecting our daughters and verifying their virginity on a periodic basis. How does the father know when she's lost her virginity? Well, I guess here they're being found out, aren't they? If a man finds a young woman who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out. Here's my question. Would regular checks by a woman of the house prevent this behavior and help keep his daughter safe? I think it would. I think it would. Then the man who lay with her, I'm going to read it on the right, about the third line. Then the man who lay with her shall give to the young woman's father 50 shekels of silver. Remember, the guy gave 100 shekels of silver when he told the father that his daughter had been defiled when she wasn't defiled. Here he gets paid 50 shekels of silver for defiling her. And she shall be his woman, because he has humbled her. Humbled. Let's look at that. Anah. He shall not be permitted to send her away. That's shalak. Send her away all his days. Send her away. Shalak. We'd have a lot of women these days getting married pretty young, wouldn't we? And young men being married because of the abominations that are going on in the land. Are you going to make an honest woman of my daughter? No, even the Family Channel has got young people being sexually involved as a common occurrence. Father, deliver us. We are in such ignorance in this land. Come, Yehovah, come. Deliver us from this wickedness. It's not until you begin to learn what Yehovah's word actually says that you can actually begin to sigh and cry for the abominations that are going on in the land. You don't understand the abominations that are going on in the land until we learn Yehovah's ways. And some of us, when we learn Yehovah's ways, we spit the idea out because we call what's evil good. And what is bitter, we call sweet. Can't do that. We have to make our mind Yehovah's mind. Call what he calls clean, clean. What he calls bitter, bitter. What he calls sweet, sweet. Sometimes it just doesn't jive with our understandings, does it? Then the man who lay with her shall give the young woman 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his woman, because he has humbled her. He shall not he shall not be permitted to send her away. To send her away. That's the word that we're talking about. They call it divorce. To send her away all her days. A man shall not take his father's woman. Not necessarily talking about a mother, but we're not going to take our father's women, any of them, all his days. Nor uncover his father's bed. Uncover his father's bed. Probably taking a sister or a close relative. What was the term that they used? Maybe that's what it was, for your father's bed. Oh, your father's nakedness. Yeah, that's probably what we're talking about. Your father's nakedness and your father's bed are one and the same thing. Here we're talking about a father's woman, not related to us. The woman from uncover his father's bed would be thy father's nakedness. Those are things that are related to us and him. Okay. Let's go to 23. This is again just a long list of seemingly unrelated things. I guess they're related in some respects, but loosely, I suppose. He starts out like this: he who is emasculated by crushing or mutilation shall not enter the assembly of Yehovah. You know what? I have a little challenge with some of this. When you think about this, what about the eunuch? Does the eunuch fit into this? What does he say about the eunuch? Well, here, let me just do this, to just give you a better understanding of what these things are saying. There's 3 different translations that translate it this way. No one whose testicles are crushed and or whose male organ is cut off shall enter the assembly of Yehovah. My translation that's my translation. He who is wounded in his stones or has his privy member cut off shall not enter the assembly of Yehovah. Here's another one. Neither he who has been mutilated by crushing, nor he that has his privy member cut off shall enter into the convocation of Yehovah. So I said, what about the eunuch? Okay, what does the Father say about the eunuch? To the eunuch who keeps my Sabbath and chooses what pleases me and holds fast to my covenant, even to them I will give in my house and within my walls, my house, my walls, a place and a name better than sons and daughters. The problem with this man is he doesn't have a way of getting real sons or daughters, but he's going to give them a name that's better than sons or daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that will not be cut off. Also the sons of the foreigner, the Ben Nakar, who joins themselves to Yehovah. This is the Ben Nakar. This is the man from the nations. Let's keep this in mind as we go through the next 2 verses. The Ben Nakar, who joins themselves to Yehovah, to serve him and to love the name of Yehovah, to be his servants. Everyone who keeps from defiling the Sabbath and holds fast to my covenants. Even them I will bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings, they're bringing burnt offerings and sacrifices will be accepted on my altar. For my house shall be called a prayer for all nations. So one, he's bringing them in, and the other one, he's keeping them out. Well, what's going on? So here's a man that for whatever reason has been damaged in his private parts. Is he not going to ever be Yehovah's people? That's not what Isaiah says. Here's the next man, Deuteronomy 23:2. One of a little illegitimate birth, a bastard, shall not enter the assembly of Yehovah, even to the 10th generation. None of his descendants shall enter the assembly of Yehovah. Oh my gosh, we're in trouble. Think about it. To the 10th generation was one of my fathers a bastard. So now I can't be part of the assembly of Yehovah. I can't enter in. We were just talking about the Ben Nakar, who keeps his Sabbaths and keeps all of his and holds fast to my covenant. Which is right? I don't know. Here he's talking about the Ammonite and the Moabite. Listen to this. Shall not enter the assembly of Yehovah, even to the 10th generation. Here's the Ammonites. Remember, the sons of Ammon and Moab were the 2 sons of Lot. They're relatives of ours. Once removed, I guess, is the way we do it. Remember, Lot was the daughter of Sarai. No, Lot was the daughter of Haran. Sarai was the daughter of Haran. So they're related to us. But they didn't have mothers. Their mothers were Lot's daughters. He took his daughters. So now it's saying that the Ammonites and the Moabites shall not enter the assembly of Yehovah. Even to the 10th generation, none of the descendants shall enter the assembly of Yehovah forever, because they did not meet you with bread and water on the road. Here's relatives that didn't meet us with bread and water on the road when you came out of Egypt, and because they hired against you, remember who did this? This was the Moabites. Hired against them Balaam, the son of Beor. The Ammonites didn't do that. Hire Balaam. Why are they being grouped together? They hired Balaam, the son of Beor, from Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse you. These are all yous. Now I said Moab hired Balaam, not Ammon. The Ammonites didn't do it. But yet they're being treated the same. I guess I feel like there's something wrong with these 3 verses. Father, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't hear your voice in this, and it doesn't agree with the rest of your word. Look what the next few verses say. Because they did not meet you. Okay, that verse 5. Let's go to 5. Nevertheless, Yehovah thy Elohim would not listen to Balaam, but Yehovah thy Elohim turned the curse into a blessing for thee, because Yehovah thy Elohim loves thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity, all thy days forever. Wow. Are we supposed to have a vendetta, in a sense, against Moab and Ammon? Yet, look what it says now about the Edomites. Who's the Edomites? Those are the men of the flesh. Those are the men who fought with Israel constantly. Edom versus Israel, the man of the flesh versus the man of the spirit. But look what it says about the Edomites. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Oh, thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wert an alien in his land. Thou wert a ger. Thou wert a ger in his land. Well, I guess it's a little bit of an irrelevant point in some ways. How do we even know who the Ammonites and the Moabites and the Edomites are? How do we know who anybody is these days? We're talking inbreeding. We don't know who anybody is. We don't even know who Israel is. And even the Jews do it through the mother instead of the father. What's all that about? My goodness. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wert a ger in his land. Yeah, here, that's ger. I put, what? Is there more a man of the flesh than an Edomite? Yet he can come to Yehovah's house? Does that make even sense? Edom, here I put my note here, Edom would not even let us pass through their land. Talk about not bringing us bread and water. They wouldn't let us even pass through their land. Which is worse? Not bringing out bread and water, or not letting us even pass through our land? That seems to me that the latter is worse. It was also the descendants of Edom and Esau the Amalekites. Remember, the Melech, we had Esau, then we had Eliphaz, and Eliphaz had Amalek. Those are the Amalekites who attacked our most feeble people when we came out of Egypt. They attacked the back of the column. Yet, they're okay. Please let us pass through your country. This is what it said in Numbers, talking about how the Edomites treated us. Please, we were asking them, please let us pass through thy country, that we will not pass through fields or vineyards. We will not drink water from wells. We will go along the king's highway. We will not turn aside to the right hand or to the left until we have passed through your territory. Then Edom said to him, remember, Edom is Esau. Then Edom said to him, thou shalt not pass through my land, lest I come against thee with the sword. So Israel's seed said to him, we will go on the king's highway, and if my livestock drink any of thy water, your water, then I will pay for it. Let me pass through on foot, nothing more. That was a pretty reasonable request, I think. We weren't going to do any damage. But remember, men of the flesh, men of the spirit, they have no tolerance for one another. Then he said, this is Edom, you shall not pass through. So Edom came out against them with many men and with a strong hand. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his territory. So Israel turned away from him. So, which is worse? Not bringing us out bread and water, or literally turning us away from the country with weapons? Does it seem just that the Ammonites and the Moabites are precluded from being a part of Yehovah's kingdom? Well, I guess it's to the 10th generation. Isn't that what they said? So maybe we're past the 10th generation at this point. So not even to the 10th generation. None of the sons shall enter into the assembly of Yehovah forever. Well, is 10th generation a way of saying forever? I don't know. How do we know who they are? Are there men out there who have sincere hearts like mine that have some blood of these Edomites, Ammonites, Moabites in us? Would Yehovah do that? Remember, we know that, who was it? It was either Joshua or it was Caleb. I want to say Caleb, who was a son of Edom. He was a son of Esau, Esau's seed. He was from Esau's seed. And yet, became to be one of the most renowned ones in Israel. Well, let's continue. When the army goes out against thy enemies, then keep thyself from every wicked thing. Okay, this is what we were talking about. This is men and women. This has a direct impact on men and women. Men wearing women's clothing, women's wearing men's clothing, women doing things that men are supposed to do. Doing their jobs. Let's take a look at this. This is serious. When the army goes out against thy enemies, then keep thyself from every wicked thing. Maybe I'll read the whole thing on the right. I've rewritten it for some reason. If there is a man in thee who has become unclean by some occurrence in the night. This is a man who has had a wet dream in thy camp, that thou, when thy army goes out against thy enemies, then keep thyself from every wicked thing. These are men. They're all men. Look what it says about the man who has a wet dream. This is really revealing. If there is a man in thee who has become unclean by some occurrence in the night, then he shall go outside the camp. He's got to leave the camp. He shall not come inside the camp, but it shall be when the evening comes that he shall wash with water, and when the sun sets, he may come into the camp. Now, why is this happening? Here it is. For Yehovah, thy Elohim, walks in the midst of thy camp. He can't walk in the midst of uncleanliness. The man who has a wet dream is unclean until he washes his clothes and waits until evening. For Yehovah thy Elohim walks in the midst of the camp to deliver thee and to give thy enemies over to thee. Therefore thy camp shall be holy, that he may see no unclean thing among thee and turn away from thee. Uncleanliness in our camp is going to keep Yehovah away from us. So here's a man with a wet dream. He doesn't affect any of the other men, but he's unclean until he washes his clothes, bathes, and he's unclean until evening. And he can come back into the camp. But now let's say we have a woman with us in her menses. Not even everything that she touches is going to be made unclean, but everything that she sits on is going to be made unclean. Everything that she lays on is going to be unclean. Talk about uncleanliness inside her camp. Yehovah can't be with us. I believe this is the very same reason why he tells all our males to appear before him at the feasts. It's the very same reason why when he was going to give us the 10 Commandments in Exodus 19, he said, don't go near a woman for 3 days. He's coming to dwell with us. And we've got to stay clean so that he can stay with us in our midst. Oh, people don't want to hear this. But I believe it's the same principle exactly. I had one note here on 10, and I've already gone through 10. Let me read this note. Yeah, talking about a wet dream, an occurrence in the night. Here. If any man has an emission of semen, that's what we're talking about, then he shall wash his body in water and be unclean until evening. Any garment and any leather on which there is semen, it shall be washed in water and be unclean until evening. Okay, this is the normal things. This is how we take care of what we call zav, an emission. It's a normal emission for a man. And it's not going to affect anybody else. Does this man make any other man unclean? The answer is no. Now, I put, how about a woman in her menses? What would this woman make other men unclean? The answer is most definitely. Look at what it says. If a woman has a discharge, this is from the same chapter on Zav. This is a normal Zav for a woman. It's not the abnormal Zuv. Men can have abnormal Zuvs, and at that point they have to be taken out of the camp as well. If a woman has a discharge, a Zav, and the Zav from her body is dam, she shall be set apart 7 days, and whoever touches her shall be unclean until evening. So here's a woman in our camp, eating, drinking, sleeping with us, touching our weapons, us touching her weapons. No, it's not going to happen, you guys. It's normal occurrence for women in the state of Israel to fight with men. Ought not to be. Ought not to be. They're not Israel. They call themselves Israel, but what does Paul say? Not all Israel's Israel. Not that I agree with Paul on hardly anything. And whoever touches her shall be unclean until evening. Everything that she lies on during her impurity shall be unclean Also, everything that she sits on shall be unclean. Whoever touches her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until evening. And whoever touches anything that she sat on shall wash his clothes and bathe with water and be unclean until evening. If anything is on her bed or anything on which she sits, when he touches it, she shall be unclean until evening. Talk about cooties. Cooties. We can't have cooties in our camp. Can't have that uncleanliness in our camp. Yehovah cannot dwell with us, and we will lose. Finally, he goes on. And if any man lies with her at all, so that his impurity is on him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and every bed on which he lies shall be unclean. Remember, this is the man who did it accidentally, not the one who did it on purpose. The man who did it on purpose is going to actually ask to leave Israel. So why is this important? For Yehovah thy Elohim walks in the midst of thy camp to deliver thee, to give thine enemies over to thee. Therefore thy camp shall be holy, that he may see no unclean thing among thee, and turn away from thee. Oh my goodness. If it shall be when the evening comes that he shall wash with water, and when the sun sets, he may come into the camp. So it didn't say anything about washing the garments that may have semen on them, but that's from another chapter. Also, thou shalt have a place outside the camp where thou may go, and thou shall have an implement among thy equipment. We're talking about doing a bowel movement. And when you sit down outside, you shall dig with it, and turn and cover thy refuge. For Yehovah, here it is. This is the whole point of it. For Yehovah thy Elohim walks in the midst of thy camp, to deliver thee and give thine enemies over to thee. Therefore therefore thy camp shall be holy, that he may see no unclean thing among thee, and turn away from thee. Wow. Yes, this is what it's all about. Here's a subtopic to that same topic, apparently. What's the big topic here? Going out to war. Thou shalt not give back to his master the servant who has escaped. Well, that's not really related. That seems like that would be a new topic altogether. Thou shalt not give back to his master the servant who has escaped from his master to thee, that he may dwell with thee in your midst, with thee in your midst, in the place which he chooses within any of thy gates, where it seems best for him. Thou shalt not oppress him. I have to ask, is this, it says, if a servant, thou shalt not give back to his master the servant. We're talking about men, because we're talking about Aved, the servant who has escaped from his master, his Baal. Is this a servant from the nations? I wonder if it's servant from the nations versus a servant from another man of our own nation. Because remember, if your neighbor's ox goes astray, anything that is thy neighbor's, it says. How about thy neighbor's servant? We're going to give him back his servant. We just talked about it in the last chapter. Is this the servant of an alien, a foreigner? That would make more sense. Here, let's go back. I want you to see that. We're on 15 right now. We covered it right here. You shall do the same for his donkey, so you shall do with his garment. With anything of thy brothers, which he has lost, and thou have found, thou shalt do likewise. Thou shalt not hide thyself. Well, you found his servant who wandered off. It says escaped from his master. All right. He left. The goat left voluntarily also. The ox left voluntarily also. Now, I think there's more to this story. Let me go back to that verse. You shall not give back to his master the servant who has escaped from his master to you, to thee. He shall dwell with thee in your midst, in the place which he chooses, within thy gates. I could see this happening for a servant from the nations. We would be treated in a sense as a ger, a new ger dwelling with us, coming to us. In a sense. How about if the master is the United States of America, the USA? No, the corporation. He's escaping from the corporation and coming to us and being allowed to dwell with us. He's going to become us eventually. Maybe. Let's continue. 17. There shall be no harlot of Israel's daughters, or a perverted one of Israel's seed. A harlot of Israel's daughter, or a perverted one of Israel's seed. Remember when we were talking about the woman who we took into our house, the woman of beautiful appearance? We talked about it last week. Last time we talked about it, we mentioned it today. Cut her hair, cut her nails, took off the clothes of her captivity. And now she's been taken, but she's displeased us. And we set her free. Great. The woman who had a relationship with Yehovah is now going to go out on the street and not have a relationship with Yehovah. Is this what's happening to that woman? Yeah, she's hard. How is she a daughter of Israel? No. Probably she's not going to be a daughter of Israel because of the bill of divorcement when you sent her out. Yeah, just a thought. There shall be no harlot. Well, maybe she's still going to be the prostitute on the street. I think that's about the only thing left for her. But here we're talking about original harlot, a harlot of the daughters of Israel. A ritual harlot. Does this make it a temple thing? I don't think it has to be a temple thing. It doesn't say ritual, it just says a harlot of the daughters of Israel, or a perverted one from Israel's seed. What is this perverted one from the sons of Israel's seed, from Israel's seed? It says it right here. Thou shalt not bring the wages of a harlot or the price of a dog. Price of a dog, here it is. This is Makar Kalev. Makar Kalev. Price of a dog. It's a male homosexual. Probably working in a temple. Look what it says here. Do not lie with a male as one lies with a woman. In Hebrew, Meshkavi, Isha, means after the manner of lying with a woman by the introduction of the male member. Male homosexuality is associated with the ancient Canaanites. If we are to judge from biblical literature, two biblical narratives highlight this theme. One about the men of Sodom in Genesis. That's an obvious one. And we talked about that when we went through it with Yasher too. It was really bad. And the other concerning the fate of the concubine in Gibeah in Judges 19. Although Gibeah was an Israelite town, the story clearly implies that Gibeah's Israelite residents had descended to the abominable ways of the surrounding Canaanites. It is also thought that the pagan priests called Didashim regularly engaged in homosexual acts. The term makar kalav, the price of a dog, mentioned in Deuteronomy 23:18, refers to the wages of a male prostitute who usually serviced men, not women, in ancient societies. Male homosexuality is called an ava, an abhorrence, an abomination. The term occurs frequently in the abominations of Deuteronomy. Yes, it does. This was an abomination. Price of a dog. New thought. Again, there's a lot of just new ideas, seemingly unrelated, many of them. Thou shalt not charge interest to thy brother. Interest on money or food or anything that is lent out at interest. Don't charge interest to your brother. Give liberally to your brother. You know, we don't really have many people in our world today who are brothers. Soon, Yehovah is going to bring back Israel a second time, like he did it the first time. He's going to give us our land. He's going to give us the wealth of the wicked. It's going to turn into the hands of the righteous. We're going to have the money to lend at that point. Most of us who are living separate just do not have the ability to share any wealth with others. Thou shalt not charge interest to thy brother. Again, brother. Thou, talking about Israel's seed, men, doing it to thy brother, not thy sister. To a foreigner, to a nokri. There it is, a foreigner, to a nokri. Thou may charge interest, but to thy brother thou shalt not charge interest, that Yehovah thy Elohim may bless thee in all which thou setst thy hand in the land which thou art entering to possess. We're getting ready to go in and possess it right now. That's, in a sense, what he's telling us now is what he's telling them then. They hadn't gotten their land either yet, had they? He says, when thou makes a vow to Yehovah thy Elohim, again, still talking to men, thou shalt not delay to pay it, for Yehovah thy Elohim will surely require it of thee, and it would be sin to thee. You make a vow. This is a vow to Yehovah, but in a minute we're going to talk about just a vow. You make a vow to Yehovah, we'll say, because we're using this verse right now. Better make sure you pay it. Why? Because it is a vow made in Yehovah's name. And what Yehovah says, he does. We are supposed to raise up Yehovah's name and Yehovah's kingdom on the earth. That's our job. That we're the son of righteousness that is rising in these last days. We want to do him proud. Be a chip off the old block, the very old block, spiritual block. This is what it means to take his name in vain. Say that we're going to do something, and then don't do it. Thou shalt not take the name of Yehovah thy Elohim in vain, for Yehovah will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. And it would be sin to thee, is what it finishes saying. But if thou abstains from vowing, it shall not be sin to you, to thee. That which has gone from thy lips, thou shalt keep and perform. For thou voluntarily vowed to Yehovah thy Elohim what thou hast promised with thy mouth. It's about doing what we're going to say we're going to do. He doesn't want us to say we're going to do something and not follow through on it. These are men that he's talking to. Does that mean we can lie? You know, you take it to the extreme. Well, I vowed, but I didn't use Yehovah's name. Is that our back door? I think that's foolishness. Doesn't make sense. It's a vow or it's not a vow. We make vows in Yehovah's name. Did you make a vow? That's how you make a vow, in Yehovah's name. 24. When thou comes into thy neighbor's vineyard, thou may eat thy fill of grapes at thy pleasure, but thou shalt not put any in thy container. We can take them and eat them by hand, glean them, if you will, but we can't keep them. We can't store them. We can't bring them home with us. When thou comes into thy neighbor's standing grain, thou may pluck the heads with thy hand, but thou shalt not use a sickle on thy neighbor's standing grain. Again, related topic. Well, that's the end of this chapter. It's 134. I'm going to stop for today rather than get started on a new chapter. I like to go from chapters to chapters if we can do it. And we've got about a 15-minute window that we can stop in. So I'm going to stop here. Next week, we're going to talk about divorce. A man takes a woman and marries her, and it happens he finds no favor in his eyes because he has found uncleanliness in her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce. We're going to talk about divorce. We're going to talk about Yehovah hating divorce. Really, what he hates is the putting away, the sending of a woman away. He hates that. He wants to have a bill of divorce attached to it. Well, we'll talk about some of that next week. Hey, thank you for joining me. If you're seeing this for the first time, like the video. Consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Again, if you're a regular listener, I'd sure love to know who you are and to get to know you. Thank you for visiting me today. We'll see you again soon. Love you tons. Bye now.